Have you ever noticed something very interesting? The world is always telling a woman what she should be, but rarely does it teach her how to be at peace. Today, I don't want to talk about success. I don't want to talk about comparison. I want to talk about habits, because habits quietly decide the direction of our life. A woman doesn't need to become extraordinary overnight. She only needs to become intentional every day. Let me share with you 10 simple habits, not heavy, not complicated, but deeply transformative. Have you ever wondered why some women carry a quiet strength that doesn't need to be announced? They walk into a room and you can feel their presence, not because they are loud, not because they demand attention, but because they are deeply grounded within themselves. This strength is not built in one day. It is built daily, through small habits that shape the mind, the heart, and the soul. Every morning is a choice to rush or a choice to realign. Before the world starts pulling you in different directions, take a moment to come back to yourself. When a woman begins her day with awareness, she begins her day with power. Self-respect is not about ego, it is about recognizing your own worth before asking the world to do the same. One of the most important habits a woman can practice is learning how to speak gently to herself. Life is already challenging enough. When the inner voice becomes harsh, the burden doubles. The way you talk to yourself becomes the way you experience life. Kindness within creates confidence outside. In daily life, emotions rise quickly, but wisdom lies in response, not reaction. Not every situation deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your peace. Choosing calm does not mean you are weak. It means you are emotionally intelligent. A woman who protects her peace protects her future. Boundaries are another form of self-love. Saying yes to everyone often means saying no to yourself. A balanced life requires honest limits. When boundaries are set with clarity and compassion, relationships become healthier, not weaker. Values are like a compass. When emotions confuse the mind and situations test patience, values quietly guide decisions. Consistency in values creates stability in character. Perfection is never the goal, sincerity is. Gratitude is a habit that transforms ordinary days into meaningful ones. When appreciation becomes natural, complaints reduce automatically. Gratitude doesn't remove problems, but it changes how we carry them. The body, too, deserves respect. It is not something to criticize daily. It is the vehicle that carries dreams, responsibilities, and purpose. Caring for it with balance and compassion is an act of gratitude toward life itself. Comparison is a silent thief. Every woman's journey unfolds at its own pace. When focus shifts from comparison to contribution, fulfillment naturally follows. Growth becomes joyful instead of stressful. In a world that celebrates constant movement, pausing becomes revolutionary. Even a few moments of silence can calm the mind and restore clarity. Stillness reconnects us with our deeper wisdom. At the end of the day, reflection is more powerful than regret. Instead of judging yourself harshly, learn gently. Progress happens when understanding replaces self-blame. A woman who practices these habits daily doesn't just improve her own life. She becomes a source of calm, strength, and inspiration for others. When inner growth becomes a priority, outer success follows naturally. Many people believe that strength is loud. They think confidence must be shown, and success must be announced. But real strength often lives quietly inside daily discipline. It shows up in how a woman chooses her thoughts, manages her emotions, and honors her values even when no one is watching. Life moves fast and expectations move even faster. A woman is expected to give, to adjust, to understand, and to endure. In the middle of all this, the most powerful habit is remembering that her inner world matters just as much as her outer responsibilities. When the inside is balanced, the outside becomes manageable. One simple daily habit is awareness. Awareness of thoughts, words, and reactions. Many problems are not caused by situations, but by unconscious responses. When awareness enters, control follows naturally. A calm mind sees solutions where a restless mind sees only pressure. Another powerful practice is emotional maturity. Emotions are not enemies, they are messengers. But letting emotions control decisions leads to exhaustion. Learning to pause before reacting creates dignity in behavior and clarity in relationships. Silence, at the right moment, can be more powerful than the perfect reply. A woman grows immensely when she stops seeking validation and starts cultivating self-trust. Depending on external approval creates constant anxiety. Self-trust, on the other hand, creates stability. When you trust your intentions, you don't need everyone to agree with your choices. Daily gratitude softens the heart. Even difficult days carry lessons. When appreciation becomes a habit, bitterness slowly fades. Gratitude doesn't deny challenges, it reminds us that challenges do not define our entire story. Caring for the body and mind is not selfish, it is responsible. Rest, nourishment, and balance are essential. Overworking without self-care leads to burnout, not achievement. Sustainable success requires respect for one's limits. Comparison often enters quietly and leaves damage behind. It convinces you that someone else's chapter is more important than your own. But growth is personal. A woman who honors her pace moves with grace instead of pressure. Boundaries protect emotional health. Saying no is not rejection, it is direction. Clear boundaries teach others how to engage respectfully. They prevent resentment and preserve energy. Stillness is another underrated habit. In moments of silence, clarity arises. Even a few minutes of reflection daily can reduce confusion and strengthen intuition. When the mind slows down, wisdom speaks. At night, reflection matters more than perfection. Every day doesn't have to be extraordinary. What matters is learning, adjusting, and continuing with humility. Growth is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more aligned with who you truly are. A woman who lives this way becomes grounded, not rigid, gentle, not weak, confident, not loud. Her habits quietly shape her destiny. When inner discipline becomes daily practice, life itself starts responding with balance and purpose. Sometimes we look for big changes and dramatic transformations, but life often improves quietly. It improves when small habits are practiced consistently. A woman does not need to become someone new to live a better life. She only needs to reconnect with who she already is beneath expectations, noise, and pressure. Each day begins with the mind. If the mind starts in chaos, the day follows the same pattern. Taking a few moments to breathe, to center oneself, and to set a calm intention can change the entire rhythm of the day. When the mind is steady, even difficult situations feel lighter. One of the most powerful habits a woman can develop is emotional awareness. Emotions come and go like waves. Fighting them creates exhaustion, and surrendering to them creates imbalance. Observing emotions with understanding creates maturity. When emotions are understood, reactions reduce automatically. Self-respect is reflected in daily choices. It shows in how one speaks, how one allows others to speak, and how one treats personal boundaries. Respecting yourself teaches others how to engage with you. It is not about control, it is about clarity. Many women carry unnecessary guilt. Guilt for resting, guilt for saying no, guilt for choosing themselves. But self-care is not selfishness, it is responsibility. A well-rested mind makes wiser decisions. A cared-for heart gives more genuinely. Life constantly presents comparisons, especially in a world driven by appearances. But comparison creates pressure, not progress. Every woman's path unfolds at a unique pace. When attention shifts from measuring to meaning, growth becomes fulfilling instead of stressful. Gratitude is a habit that changes perspective. When appreciation becomes natural, complaints lose their power. Gratitude does not ignore pain. It places pain within a bigger picture. It reminds us that life is a mixture of lessons and blessings. The body deserves kindness. It works continuously without complaint, carrying responsibilities and dreams. Treating the body with balance, nourishment, and rest builds long-term strength. Punishment never creates sustainability, compassion does. Silence has its own wisdom. In a busy world, moments of stillness become anchors. Silence allows thoughts to settle and intuition to rise. Even a few minutes of quiet reflection can restore clarity and peace. Boundaries are another form of inner strength. Saying no when necessary preserves energy and prevents resentment. Healthy boundaries are not walls, they are guidelines that protect emotional well-being. At the end of the day, reflection is more valuable than self-criticism. Ask not what went wrong, but what was learned. Progress happens when understanding replaces judgment. A woman who practices these habits daily becomes centered and resilient. She does not chase validation, she carries purpose. Her strength is calm, her confidence is steady, and her growth is natural. When inner balance becomes a lifestyle, life itself begins to flow with greater ease and meaning. Life teaches us many lessons, but the most important ones are often the simplest. They are not learned in moments of success, but in quiet, ordinary days when choices are made without applause. A woman's true strength is revealed not in what she achieves, but in how she lives daily. Every morning brings an opportunity to reset. Before the mind fills with expectations and responsibilities, pausing for a moment can change the quality of the entire day. When a woman begins her day with intention rather than urgency, she moves through life with greater clarity and calm. One of the most valuable habits is learning to respond instead of react. Reactions come from emotion, but responses come from awareness. Situations may not always be in our control, but our reactions always are. Emotional balance creates dignity, and dignity creates respect. Many women underestimate the power of their thoughts. What you think repeatedly becomes what you believe, and what you believe shapes how you live. Choosing supportive thoughts is not denial of reality, it is preparation to face reality with strength. Boundaries are often misunderstood. They are not about pushing people away, but about protecting inner peace. Saying no at the right time is an act of wisdom, not guilt. A woman who respects her limits preserves her energy for what truly matters. Gratitude is a habit that quietly transforms perspective. When attention shifts to what is present instead of what is missing, life feels fuller. Gratitude does not remove challenges, but it reduces the emotional weight we carry. The body is often treated as an afterthought, yet it supports everything we do. Caring for it with balance and compassion builds long-term resilience. Rest is not laziness, it is renewal. Without rest, even success feels heavy. Comparison enters the mind easily, especially in a world filled with constant images and opinions. But comparison creates pressure, not progress. Every woman's journey unfolds in its own time. Growth happens when focus shifts inward instead of outward. Silence has a healing quality. In moments of stillness, the mind settles and clarity emerges. Regular pauses during the day help prevent emotional overload. Stillness reconnects us with our deeper wisdom. Reflection at the end of the day is a powerful habit. Instead of criticizing yourself for what went wrong, gently observe what was learned. Learning leads to improvement, while judgment leads to discouragement. A woman who practices these habits daily develops quiet confidence. She becomes steady in challenges and graceful in success. Her strength does not demand attention, it radiates naturally. When life is guided by awareness, balance, and compassion, progress becomes peaceful and growth becomes sustainable. We often believe that life changes when circumstances change, but in reality, life changes when habits change. A woman does not need a new role, a new place, or a new identity to grow. What she needs is awareness in the way she lives each day. Small, conscious actions practiced daily quietly shape character and destiny. The day usually begins in the mind. If the mind starts with stress, the entire day feels rushed. But when a woman takes a few moments in the morning to slow down, breathe, and set a calm intention, she creates space for balance. Inner order always creates outer harmony. One of the most important habits is learning how to manage emotions with maturity. Emotions are natural, but reacting to every emotion drains energy. A pause between feeling and action creates wisdom. When emotions are observed instead of obeyed, strength develops naturally. Self-respect is reflected in choices. It shows in the way time is valued, in the standards one keeps, and in the boundaries one sets. Respecting yourself does not mean becoming rigid. It means becoming clear. Clarity removes confusion and builds confidence. Gratitude has a quiet power. When appreciation becomes a daily habit, dissatisfaction loses control. Gratitude doesn't pretend that life is perfect. It reminds us that life is still meaningful even when it is imperfect. A grateful heart experiences contentment more easily. The body carries every responsibility we take on, yet it is often ignored until it demands attention. Treating the body with kindness, nourishment, and rest is not indulgence. It is an investment in longevity, energy, and mental clarity. Comparison can silently disturb peace. It makes a woman question her pace, her worth, and her journey. But growth is personal, not competitive. When comparison is replaced with self-awareness, progress feels natural and peaceful. Stillness is often mistaken for inactivity, but it is actually preparation. Moments of silence allow the mind to reset and the heart to reconnect with purpose. Even a few minutes of quiet reflection daily can restore emotional balance. Boundaries protect inner peace. They prevent overextension and emotional exhaustion. Saying no when necessary is an act of self-respect, not rejection. Healthy boundaries strengthen relationships by creating honesty and mutual respect. At the end of the day, reflection is more nurturing than criticism. Every day offers lessons. When a woman reflects with compassion instead of judgment, growth becomes gentle and sustainable. A woman who practices these habits daily becomes grounded and resilient. She does not rush to prove herself, she grows steadily from within. Her confidence is calm, her strength is consistent, and her presence is peaceful. When inner discipline becomes a way of life, fulfillment follows naturally, and success feels meaningful rather than exhausting. Let me end with this thought. A woman who practices these habits daily does not just change her life. She changes the atmosphere around her. She becomes calmer without becoming quiet, stronger without becoming hard, confident without becoming arrogant. And remember, you don't need to be perfect. You only need to be present, aware, and kind to yourself. Because when a woman grows from the inside, the whole world feels the difference.